Doing a little work today at the Levi Jackson family cemetery. There's a lot of work here that the city needs to do. Somebody's knocked down a portion of the split rail fence here. But my mission here is to clean some stones. The city needs to contract with somebody to come out here and put this one back on its base. That's Levi Jackson. That's the granddaughter of Levi. I'm sorry, the daughter of Levi and Rebecca. Ella and her brother G.D. Jackson were the two people who gave the land to the state of Kentucky for the park in honor of their parents. It's Lucy Jackson. I'm in the process of cleaning that stone. This is Rebecca Freeman Jackson, Levi's wife. Rebecca was the daughter of John Freeman, who owned a tavern that got its license in 1805, and the tavern was right down there on 229 or the Wilderness Road. Of course, Rebecca married Levi. Levi's stone is propped up with a stick. Needs to be secured back to its base. And over the years, vandals have struck here several times. This is William, the son of Levi. That's George, another son. This is a daughter, Sarah, who's been vandalized, broken up. This one right here is a H. Jackson, H.J. Don't know who it is, but the footstone says H.J. and that one's completely missing. This is Moses Jackson. Anytime you see a stone with that shield on it, that's a Civil War veteran. He died in 1880 at 77 years old, and I cleaned that stone. I'll put a picture of what it looked like before right here. So this is one day after the initial cleaning, and in the next 2 to 3 months it will continue to lighten. I call this a peach marble. It's sort of got streaks of orange and white in it. It's a beautiful stone, but when they go bad, they get bad. They look like they're rusted. But in about 2 or 3 months I'll come back and see how it's aging, because the biological cleaner that I use continues to lighten the stone. So there's always work to be done in the cemetery. Levi Jackson, Rebecca Jackson, and assorted family members. Several unknown graves. Levi's father, Reuben, is supposedly buried at Rough Creek, but I've never been able to find him. This is Levi's stepmom, Eve, Reuben's second wife. At one time I used to think this was Reuben, but it's not. He's buried at Rough Creek. Levi Jackson Cemetery, now under the care of the City of London. Maybe the city will invest a little money to fix some of these stones back. Levi Jackson's parents, Reuben and Elizabeth, are buried at Rough Creek. Let's see if we can find them today. Reuben died in around 1857, and Levi's mother died around 1839, and Reuben married again. His second wife, Eve, is buried here at the Levi Jackson Cemetery. But when Reuben died in 1857, he was buried with his first wife and Levi's mother, Elizabeth, over at Rough Creek. This is Rough Creek. Church is over there, and the lane into the old section goes up through there, and the new section of Rough Creek Cemetery is just beyond the church there. but this is often called the old section, even though it's got a lot of new graves in it as well. But when you get far over to the woods edge side of it, it truly is the old section, the original section of the cemetery. Using a combination of information from the Laurel County Historical Society cemetery guides and matching up some pictures off of findagrave.com, I have located the graves of Levi Jackson's parents. This, as you can see, is broken into pieces. That is the grave of Reuben Jackson, Levi's father. Died in 1857. And this is Elizabeth Jackson, Reuben's wife, Levi's mother. The stones are in really bad shape, but they're just so old. Sad to see this one broken up into pieces, like a jigsaw puzzle. Reuben Jackson was a mill operator, operated a mill on the Laurel River. So they probably lived fairly close to Rough Creek, and Rough Creek was probably the go-to place for burials in those times. So Reuben outlived Elizabeth by a number of years and even remarried. But when he died, he buried next to his first love and the mother of his children. Elizabeth's maiden name was Houston, and she's been here since 1839. Reuben since 1867. Here at the Rough Creek Cemetery. Just a few spots down from Reuben and Elizabeth, one of their sons, Isaac, a brother to Levi Jackson. He died a few years before Levi. I think he died in 1864. Stone is flat to the ground and in pieces. His name is right there in that break. You can barely make it out. Isaac Jackson. There are several Jacksons in here, all related, including Rachel, Rachel is Isaac's daughter. She's buried here next to Reuben. She died in 1850, Rachel Jackson. No visit to Rough Creek would be complete without visiting two of the more unique graves that I've ever seen in this county, and I've seen a bunch. The graves of David and Bernetta Williams are here, wrought iron fencing around them. And this is David, born 1812, died in 1896. Bernetta, born 1815, died 1898. And the little houses, the stones here are made to look like chimneys on the little houses. Which are just basically covering their grave, their burial locations. Very unique. I think there's another grave or two in here as well that are unmarked. Pretty amazing craftsmanship for the 1890s. Those were some large stones shaped and hoisted into place and mortared in here and still standing. here at Rough Creek. It always bewilders me, some of the maintenance that takes place in cemeteries. You can see here I'm on the very edge here of the woods, and this grave here, A.B. Brock, is literally right here next to the woods. Makes you wonder if there are others that are over there. And if you come up here and around the corner, the cemetery continues back up through that fence row. And these graves right here are literally off the edge. Francis Bentley's been here since 1923. This is Elijah Lawson, Civil War veteran. That's a Civil War stone. It needs to be cleaned up. Here in the woods. On the edge of the cemetery. The things you see in the cemeteries. Some very old stones out here. And over time, they start to tilt and the spires just finally lay down. Some really old graves here at Rough Creek. And sometimes you gotta wonder too if vandals are not at work. These old Johnson graves here. Tall stones, marble stones, and one knocked off of its pedestal.